G'day folks, and welcome to this overview and example of play of Pandemic Fall of Rome. This game by Matt Leacock and Paolo Mori takes the sort of fundamental gameplay of Pandemic and ports it to the theme of the fall of Rome. But the subtle thematic enhancements of this game really kind of bind the theme in, and it really feels like you're moving your armies around and fighting off these barbarian hordes. The way the game works is you start with this basic setup. You have your legions up in the top left. You have a decline marker, which indicates the decline of the Roman Empire. You have up in the top here this yellow marker representing the invasion rate. It tells you how many invasion cards you flip over and how many legions you can recruit. And gradually, as revolts occur, this will decline. You'll recruit fewer legions and you'll draw more invasion cards. So the game becomes more difficult. Up in the top here, we have the invasion cards. We'll draw these each turn to indicate where the barbarians come from and where they travel to. We place the 5 red Roma cards, one for each barbarian tribe, up in the top right. We set the tribes up in their areas, and this is where they'll all emerge from. So orange cubes will come from here, black from here, green from here, white and blue and so forth. And they'll travel along the coloured paths. So orange tribes will travel along here towards Iberacum, or they'll travel along here towards Rome. Black will travel along here, long path towards Rome, or perhaps out to Constantinople and so forth. They'll follow those lines, and you can see how the paths, the locations along those paths are also coloured by these cubes. This is also important for movement reasons, which I'll get to in a moment. We then take these 9 gold bordered cards, shuffle them up, and deal them in 3 piles of 3 cards. In the first pile of 3 cards, we take 3 cubes of the matching colour and basically place them in the named cities. So we place 3 cubes in Philippopolis, we place 3 blue cubes in Carnuntum, 3 green cubes in Carnuntum. We then place 2 cubes in each of these. So 2 green cubes in Philippopolis, 2 white cubes in Tyrus, and 2 orange cubes in Gesoriacum, way up in the top here. The third pile, we place 1 cube in each. So 1 in Mogontiacum, 1 blue in Chersonesus, up in the right here, and 1 orange in Mogontiacum. And you'll note that different coloured cubes can coexist in the same area. They don't really affect each other. We then take these cards and place them in the discard pile. Now, something to note, these cards will be placed back on top of the pile and will be the most likely cards drawn once we have these revolts. I'll get to that in a moment. We then need to take these roll cards, shuffle them up, and I'll set up for a 2-player game. So I'll deal 2 rolls out. We have Praefectus Classus and Praefectus Fabrum. Praefectus Classus is a port goer. He likes to travel freely between ports. He can travel, for example, from Londinium up here to Roma and then to Chersonesus out in the east. And he's the blue pawn. We have Praefectus Fabrum. He is a fort builder, in effect. His advantage is that he can remove 2 legions in his area to build a fort. Normally this would cost a card matching the city he is in. Now I like this combination because he can quite easily build forts and he can quite easily move around and fight. They both also have a special combat ability. If they roll the eagle in combat, if he's in a port, he removes a barbarian. And if he's in a city with a fort, he removes 2 barbarians from his city. Both of these forces will start with 2 legions. And I'll get to them in just a moment. We then take the city cards, and with 2 players, we'll shuffle these up and take 4 events out and set the other events aside. Now there is a special character where you might set these events up and they will take extra events, but we're not playing with that character. We haven't drawn them. We then shuffle those 4 events into this larger player deck. I'll make sure they are shuffled quite nicely throughout the deck. And we deal each player with 2 players, a starting hand of 4 cards. And set the rest of the player deck aside up to the right. Now I'll show you the Praefectus Fabrum's hand. You can see they have a nice hand of orange cards and a white card. I'll set it aside for now, whilst Praefectus Classis has some whites and blues, and I promise you these were shuffled well. We then take the player deck, and we need to see this with these revolt cards. These are like your epidemic cards in regular Pandemic if you've played that. Now, for your first game, I highly recommend playing with the introductory level using just 5 revolt cards. You can increase the difficulty by adding more revolt cards, and again, what you should do is take this deck and divide it into 5 roughly even piles, as close as you can. Now this ensures that those revolt cards, which you'll place in each pile, are fairly distributed. So you take a revolt card, shuffle that deck, take another revolt card, put it in, shuffle that deck, another revolt card, shuffle that deck, and so forth until you have all 5 decks of cards with those revolt cards sort of seated roughly 1/5 in each throughout, and you place them there. With that done, you now need to look at your city cards and determine a place to start. Now, in terms of Praefectus Fabrum, he is a fort builder. And the advantage of forts is this is where you recruit your legions from, and they also help to defend against the invading barbarians. If there is a fort and a legion alone together like such, when a barbarian invades, they kill off the legion and kill off the barbarian. So they're a good sort of barrier to these invasions, and he wants to sort of get started with building these forts. Looking at these cards, Narbo is a long way from the frontier, so you may not worry about that. Burdigala is a little bit closer. Rome is a long way away and already has a fort. And Ravenna is, well, pretty close. So he's going to say, I'm going to start in Ravenna, and he places his 2 legions here. Now, I'll tell you right now, my plan is to move a bit closer to these frontiers and build a fort in Aquileia. This will stop the blue and the white barbarians from moving through this area. It'll deter them. It won't completely stop them. We need legions there, but it will certainly deter them from doing so. Now, Praefectus Classis likes the port regions. Genoa is certainly a port, but a long way from the front. Justiniacum is on the frontier and a port, so I'm already liking that spot there. Tyrus is also a port and right on the frontier. And we have Athena, which is a port, but again, not near the frontier. So I'm going to start here, and my plan here is to, in fact, we'll change to Tyrus, because without the barbarians, what I want to do here is move towards Philippopolis and deal with these cubes. If barbarians move into a space and there are already 3 cubes and you would place a 4th, they sack the city. This is very bad. The barbarians flow over into all neighboring cities. You decline the Roman Empire 1 space. Bad things happen, basically, and I want to prevent this from happening. So this is a dangerous area, and Carnuntum up here is a very dangerous area because it has both blue and green. So in addition to building a fort here, I'd also like to be able to fight them off quite easily. And in fact, I may do that before I build the fort, because this is a very dangerous spot. With that done, we are ready to go. Now, to play the game, every player will get a little summary card like this, and it summarizes the 8 main actions they do. Keeping in mind, you also have your special actions. The main actions are, you can march to an adjacent city. Now, I should point out, you get 4 actions per turn. And you can interchange these as much as you want. You can march, sail, fortify, or you can march, recruit, then fortify, and then march again, any order you want. Marching simply involves moving to a connected area. So I can move here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've used up my 4 actions just like that. When marching, you can take 3 legions with you, and you can freely pick them up and drop them off along the way. So I could go 1, 2, 3 if I wanted to. I've got 1 action left. Let's go 4, like so. Sailing is very similar, but it allows you to move from port to port. And again, keeping in mind that the Praefectus Classis can do this move for free, my Prefectus Fabrum, the white player, must discard a city card matching the destination colour. So he can, for example, move from here to Burdick Gala up here if he discards an orange or a black card. This is a nice way to get quick movement around the board. The Fortify action, and again you can take 3 legions with you. The Fortify action enables you to discard a city card matching your city. It has to be the exact city, so it has to be, in this case, Ravenna, or in this case, Tyras, to build a fort in your city. Now you have a fort in Rome at the start. You have 5 additional forts you can build. But again, the advantages of this Prefectus Fabrum is he can discard 2 legions to build a fort in his area. I mentioned how valuable that will be for us. And forts are very important because whilst you're in a fort, you can do the recruit army ability. And this lets you place legions up to the recruitment level. At the start of the game, this is 3. So if I recruited in Roma, I would simply place 3 extra legions in that space. And then I could move out of here, take perhaps 2 with me, leave 3 behind, or I could take 3 with me, leaving these 2 legions behind for the next player to come along and pick them up and then move somewhere else. So building forts and recruiting extra legions is very important. Once I have my legions and I move into an enemy space, another action I can do is battle. This involves simply rolling 1 battle die per legion I have and following the result. If you see a cube, it simply means kill a barbarian cube of any colour you want. If you see a legion, it means you lose a legion. So in this particular case, I would kill off 3 barbarians, and again I choose the colours, and I lose 1 legion. So that would be the final result of that battle. And you can see, if this was the case, we've reduced the threat in Carnuntum. There's no longer 3 cubes here. We've sort of slightly reduced the threat in that region. That's something I want to do quite early. Now, what's the aim of the game? The aim of the game is to ideally ally with the 5 tribes. And you ally with those tribes by travelling to an area where there's a barbarian tribe and paying cards equal to the level of the tribe. So if you look down here, there's 5 black, 5 white, 4 green, 4 orange, and 3 blue. This indicates how many cards you must discard. One player must discard cards of this colour to forge an alliance. Now, I already have 3 orange here. If I get 1 more orange card, I can forge an alliance with this orange tribe. Now, in regular pandemic, once you cure a disease, that kind of disease stops spreading. In Pandemic Fall of Rome, forging alliance doesn't stop the barbarians coming. They keep invading, they keep coming forward. But what this means is that once you've forged an alliance with a tribe, discard the required set of cards in a city containing a barbarian of that colour, you can then enlist those barbarians. What this means is you travel to a location where there are barbarians of that colour. So if I've allied with orange, I can now travel to an area with orange cubes and do this enlist barbarians action. I discard a card matching their colour, orange, and I replace all barbarian tribes in that group with legions. So they effectively become sort of like my auxiliaries in my army. They come over to my side. It's a nice quick way to get rid of these cubes. Now, it is at the end of your turn, you will certainly draw more player cards, but sometimes you really need, well, in my case, I need just 1 more orange card, and I can say to my opponent, hey, I would love an orange card. And Prefectus Classis says, well, I can give you one of these if you can get to one of these 2 areas. And this is doing the plot action. When you do the plot action, you can either give another player a card if you're both in the same location. So for example, if they were both here, they could trade the card Mogontiacum. White could give it to blue, or blue could give it to white. You're basically giving the card matching the city location. This is a very important element of the game, organising where you're going to travel to, what cards you're going to give, and how you're going to forge these alliances with these tribes. So they are the 8 core actions. Once you've done your 4 actions in a turn, you draw 2 player cards to enhance your hand. This will again add more coloured cards to your hand. You may draw a revolt card. And if a revolt card happens, there's a revolt in a city, randomly drawn from the deck. You increase the invasion rate, and you'll take all these cards from the discard pile. You'll shuffle them all up, and and you'll place them back on top of the deck. So the cities that have already sort of revolted and been in trouble and invaded by barbarians will be most likely to revolt again. So you'll have some knowledge of what is going to be invaded, but you don't exactly know where. Once you've drawn your 2 cards, you then follow the invasion rate and you'll draw 2 cards from the top. And I'll explain how that works in a moment. Basically, the barbarians will follow a path from their source. In this case, the Huns will follow this path and they'll travel to a city. Now in this case, they're traveling directly to an adjacent city. Most of these cards at the start, the gold or brown bordered cards, are adjacent cities used in setup. Often they're traveling to places like Roma or Narbo or Bertigala, and they need to follow a path. So for example, if the Vandals were moving to Bertigala, they start here. Well, actually, we work in reverse. We check Bertigala. Can they reach Bertigala from adjacent area, or is there already a tribe in Bertigala? There's no tribe already there, so they're not added to it. And there's no adjacent tribe, so they're not added to it. We then go one step back on their path. Is there a tribe here? No. But they do have an adjacent tribe. So in that case, they will travel to Lugdunum, and that is where they invade to. On the next turn, let's say we somehow draw Bertigala again. There's no tribe here, but there is an adjacent tribe. So now they will move into Bertigala. If luck should have it, we shuffle the deck up and Bertigala is drawn a 3rd time. There is now a tribe here, so we just add to their tribe numbers. And this is how these tribes gradually spread across the board. You lose the game if Rome is ever sacked. And let me tell you, these tribes very quickly move towards Rome. They move into Aquileia, Ravenna, Genua, and so forth. So you need to try to stop these tribes, push them back using your legions and your forts. Okay, let me show you how a game typically works. I mentioned that my Praefectus Fabrum has started in Ravenna using this card. He really wants to fight these guys off, but before he does so, he really has to build a fort. So he's going to go 1, his first action, 2, to remove those and build a fort. 3, he's going to recruit up to the recruitment rate, 3. So he builds 3 legions there. And then 4, he's going to move straight to Carnuntum. He doesn't have a 5th action, unfortunately, to fight them off, but he's there ready on his next turn. And let's just hope there's no expansion in this area. To end his turn, he draws 2 cards, and oh no, he's drawn a revolt. So let me show you how revolts work. First, we move the invasion marker up to the right. We then take the bottom card of the deck, and we place 3 barbarians in this city. Now this is different to an expansion or invasion. They go straight to Caesarea, way down the bottom here in North Africa. We then place that card on the discards, and we shuffle those cards, as I just mentioned, shuffling them well, and I'm desperately hoping that one of those Carnuntum cards doesn't come out. Otherwise we're going to have a sacked city on the very first turn. Happened in the last game we played. All right, with that done, I've drawn 2 cards. The revolt card can be placed aside out of the game. I now go to the invasion phase and I draw 2 cards. Philippopolis, a white army in Philippopolis. Oh, well, here we go. Not the city I was worried about, but Philippopolis. This is now sacked. I would add a 4th cube. That doesn't happen. Instead, I decline the empire. I take a white cube and place it in every adjacent city. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now Tyrus is threatened. If Tyrus were to be invaded, it will also be sacked. And there's this chain reaction. If it sacks Philippopolis again, it also sacks. So it keeps going. Let me draw a 2nd card and hope it's not Tyrus. Of course it's Carnuntum. Okay, so it is also sacked. The empire declines once again. Take blue cubes and place them in adjacent areas. Now, I've made a mistake. When this cube was placed in Tyrus, I had 2 legions here. When you have either a pawn or a fort with legions, that invading army fights off the legion and they're both removed. So I lose 1 legion, but it protects Tyrus. This is why it's good to have your legions and pawns or forts in an area. If, let's say hypothetically, I didn't have my pawn there, I had 2 legions, those legions would be ambushed by that cube. Both legions, all the legions in that area would be eliminated, but the cube would also be removed. And sometimes it's a noble sacrifice, something you want to do. So it can be good to have at least one legion in these areas to stop these cubes from spreading. It's now Praefectus Classus's turn, and well, what can he do? He was thinking about moving up there, but now he doesn't have many armies. He might just move to Philippopolis, 1. He gets to roll 1 dice in battle. He removes a cube, 2. He will then move 3, 4, moving to the fort and planning to recruit on a subsequent turn. He then draws 2 cards, orange and a green. He then invades in Mogontiatum, right here, and in Roma. Okay, so let's have a look at this more complex one. We have a blue tribe. These are the Ostrogoths. Invading from here and following this path, you can follow the path on the card. They'll travel through Carnuntum, through Aquileia, and straight to Rome. Again, we're looking straight at Rome. We look right at the destination. Is there a tribe there? No, but there's a tribe in an adjacent spot. And so they can reach Rome. If there was an army in Rome, a legion in Rome, that legion would be defeated and the tribe would be removed. But there isn't. I didn't make it in time. Okay, we go back to Praefectus Fabrum's turn. And 5 cards. He has 3 legions with him. He mainly just wants to fight off those barbarians in his space. So he's going to battle for his first action. Killing off 3 cubes. 1, 2, 3. But losing 1 legion. And legions just removed to the legion pool. He really wants to protect this area, so he's going to fight again. Okay, so I have killed off the 3 cubes that were in the space. He gets his special ability, which is if in a city with a fort, remove 2 barbarians. That's not the case, but he loses his 2 legions. I think that's worth it. It's made Carnuntum a really safe space. So 1, 2, he's going to move down here for 3. Can he ask for Aquileia? He can, but he can't exchange anything. Now remember, whilst these 2 pawns are in Aquileia, they can only exchange the card Aquileia. It's not any city, it is the city they are in. So, white pawn would really love another orange card, but Aquileia is not orange, so they can't get that. So 1, 2, 3, and they may as well recruit 4. And now we have a decent army in Aquileia. They draw 2 cards, no orange unfortunately, and they do an invasion check. Roma. This time we have the Huns invading, so it's a green cube. Can they reach Rome? No, there are no adjacent green cubes, so we go back 1 space. Can they invade here? No. They go back. Can they invade here? I don't know what that's doing there. Yes, they can. So they'll reach there. And that goes in the discard. 1 more card. Carnuntum. Pretty easy. It's right next to their home, so they invade. I could have left the legion behind. In fact, I lost them all, so I couldn't have. And that goes there. It's now Praefectus Classus's turn. 4 actions. And what would they like to do? Let's have a look at what they've got in their hand. Okay, so they now also have 3 orange cards, 2 white cards. Now I should point out, just as a reminder, that black and white are the hardest sets to collect. You need 5 of each of these to ally. The blue tribe is the easiest, but there are of course fewer blue cards in the deck. Well, they've kind of pacified this area. Things are looking good. They might take... What do they have? Let's see where we can build. We can build a fort in Tyras would be very nice. Although I'm looking at Philippopolis as being even nicer. Let's try and set up to trade with this other cube in Roma. So what we're going to do is we're going to fight off these barbarians first. We're only going to fight with 2 dice. You can roll up to 1 die per legion. You don't have to use all of your legions. So I'm just going to roll 2 dice and hope to kill off that cube in Aquileia. I succeed and lose a legion. And the reason I did that just with just 2 cubes is I didn't want to potentially lose more legions than I needed. So that cube is also gone. That's their first action. For their second action, they will recruit. So 2, place 3 more legions. The third action, they'll move down here. And for their fourth action, they'll try to fight that cube in Rome. Again, only rolling 2 dice and killing off the cube with no losses. That's 4 actions done. They draw 2 cards, no orange, that's okay, and 2 invasions. We have 1 in Caesarea, so, okay, this is a quite rare situation. And because we had that result in Caesarea, we placed 3 cubes there immediately. I should have really addressed this as a priority. Now, because I didn't address it, this place is sacked. We place cubes in adjacent areas and the decline goes down 1. This is why you should always focus on these areas with 3 cubes. So Caesarea has been invaded. They don't have to follow the path. There are already cubes there, so they head straight there and the revolt basically flows over into neighbouring areas. We draw another card, Chersonesus, which is up in the top right, and there's already a cube there, so it can be invaded, and we place a card there. We now return to Prefectus Fabrum's turn. They're going to leave a legion behind to defend this area. They're going to move down to Rome. 1 action. They're going to say, hey, let's plot together. We're in Roma. I have an orange Roma card. I'm going to give that to Prefectus Classus. 2, that's my second action. What do I need to worry about? Of course, Caesarea. Do I have a black card to travel to this black area? Yes, we have Athena. So we're going to take 3 legions. So I've gone 1, 2, 3, discarding the card matching the city I'm going to, which goes up there. And for my fourth action, I'm going to fight off this revolt. So I've got 3 legions, 3 dice, my special, and another special, and a third. Again, my special for Prefectus is if in a city with a fort, remove 2 barbarians. Unfortunately, I'm not in a city with a fort. So I kill 1 barbarian, I lose 1 legion. That's okay, because I've reduced the threat of another sacking of this city. At the end of my turn, I draw 2 cards, another black, and a special event. Now again, we seeded some events into the deck at the start of the game. This one simply lets me place a fort in my city, or I can decline our empire by 1 step to do an enhanced ability, which is do the above and move 1 pawn there with permission. That player may take up to 3 legions with them. I can play this at any time. Unfortunately, let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm right at my hand limit, so I'm okay for now. Your hand limit is 7. If you ever, at any time, go above 7 cards, you must immediately discard down to your hand limit. We then do an invasion. We have an invasion of Roma. So, can they reach Roma? Well, as it is, they're right next to them because of this revolt. It doesn't have to be a continuous line. We only look at the city. There are no black cubes there, but they can reach from adjacent area. So this cube would be placed there, but we have some legions defending, so they're both removed. Second invasion is Roma again, this time from the Visigoths, the white. Can they reach it? No. So we go back along their path. They go from here, here, still no cubes. Okay, so there are now cubes next to Aquileia in Nerona, so they would invade here. But remember, I placed this defending legion here, and there's a fort here. And the fort doesn't really matter much in this situation. The fort just means you'd only lose 1 legion instead of all of them, prevents them being ambushed. As it is, they're both removed, and we place that card up there. It's now Prefectus Classus's turn, and they now have too many cards. So let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As I mentioned, white and blacks are more, well, I might get rid of this white card. You need more of these. As I said, you need 5 blacks to form an alliance, but there are more of these in the deck. So we'll keep on to those. Now what I'm going to do, remember he can sail from port to port without having to pay a card. So he's going to travel up to Gesoriacum, 1 action. He's then going to speak to these tribes here and say, hey guys, let's form an alliance. We have now formed an alliance with the Anglo-Saxons and Franks. We take that, place it down there. They are discarded. Now, if I had an orange card, another orange card, I could play that orange card to enlist barbarians, and it would take these 2 tribes and turn them into legions, which would be great. But alas, I don't have that in my hand. So that's 1, 2, What else can I do? Well, let's look at my hand. Constantinopolis, Caesarea. 1, 2, 3, and then recruit. 4. The recruitment rate is still 3 legions, so I've got a large army there in Aquileia. We draw 2 cards. Okay, that's all right. And then we have 2 invasions. An invasion of Montiacum with an orange cube. There's an army there, so they can invade. It's also adjacent to their home region. And an invasion of Philippopolis with a green cube. Not too much of a threat, though. These are always Carnuntum, Philippopolis, Tyrus, Caesariacum, Mogontiatum. They're all sort of areas that you need to keep an eye on. They're the frontier of the empire. So they're now done. It's back to Prefectus Fabrum's turn. Now, Caesarea is kind of a problem area. There's all these bad guys in the area. So what I'm going to do, first action, their special ability is they're going to build a fort here. Probably a less than optimal move. But the reason I'm doing this is because my special ability and this card will probably keep coming out. I'm then going to recruit in this area. So 1, 2, and for my third action I'm going to fight. Okay, so dead cubes, and I lose 1 legion in the process. Now I do have a 4th action, and I think, because I have some spare orange cards, I'm going to leave a legion behind, travel up to here. So what have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, and discard an orange card. My plan is, on a future turn, to spend another orange card to recruit those legions, perhaps even build a fort. So Mogontiatum would be a good place for it, because both orange and black pass through there. All right, folks, I am part way through the game, probably about a quarter to a third of the way through. I'm pretty happy with how things are going. Unfortunately, we had 3 sacks early, but the situation is under control. And there are no spaces with 3 cubes that could be sacked on a bad card draw. Revolts will keep coming out. Now, I didn't mention the timer. This deck of cards is your timer. If at any time you cannot draw, this deck runs out and you can't draw any cards, you lose the game. You run out of time. I mentioned the sacking of Rome. If tribes ever reach Rome and sack Rome, not just reaching it, but sacking Rome, you also lose the game. You also lose the game, I think I mentioned, if the decline marker reaches the bottom. And another way, which is quite common to lose a game, is if you can never place a barbarian when required to do so. So let's say there's a lot of black barbarians coming on the board, and then I run out of these barbarian cubes. If I'm ever required to place a black cube on the board and I can't, I lose the game. And just a reminder, the way to win is to either forge alliances with all the tribes and or remove them from the board. So there's only 3 blue cubes on the board at present. If I can kill off those blue cubes, I don't need to ally with that tribe. Provided I ally with the rest of the tribes, that's enough to win the game. So that is Pandemic Fall of Rome. It has a lot of the common gameplay of regular Pandemic, but with this kind of extra thematic element of moving tribes around, of fighting off the barbarians, and these barbarian invasion routes towards Rome. It's great. I mean, these are effectively your research centers in Pandemic, but they're forts in this case, and they help your legion. So there's this really nice, subtle thematic attachment. It really does, playing through this game, it really does feel like you're moving your legions around and building these forts. You kind of disconnect from, I've played a lot of Pandemic, but it doesn't feel like I'm eradicating a virus. It feels like I'm fighting off these barbarian tribes. So I really enjoy this game. It's also a great family game. I played this with my my wife and my 9-year-old. I've played it with friends. It's, yeah, quite versatile, highly replayable. Yeah, a great experience. Pandemic Fall of Rome.